Hi guys, since starting this channel, I've been very fortunate to speak with people from all walks of life, and I thank them for informing me about things that I was greatly ignorant of. However, my greatest respect is always for medical staff and nurses in particular, because they put themselves through hell on a daily basis, not for the money, but out of a wish to do good and to help people. Now, I've spoken to some who work in the NHS, and they've explained the problems that it's facing, and what makes me angry is that government ministers know this too, but simply don't care. Here a nurse named Liv called Matt Free of LBC to explain why she's considering leaving for Australia, and this is some pretty strong stuff.
I really, really care, and that's why I started looking abroad, is because you come home at the end of a shift and you think about some of the people that you've seen that day, and you just feel miserable because... So I'll give you an example. There was a man recently that I ended up treating who had end-stage bowel cancer, and he was in A&E. And at the time I came in the morning, he'd been sitting in a chair for 8 hours. And what had happened was his bladder had created a hole towards his bowel just because of where the tumour was. So the reason he'd come in was because he had an infection and he was leaking urine out of his back passage. And he was sitting upright in a chair in the waiting room for 8 hours. This was the last day of his life. He died 12 hours later.
Oh, that's awful.
So this is the kind of thing that you come home and you sit down and you think, this is my foreseeable future. I'm going to be doing this every day. And I didn't really help that man. There was nothing I could do to make it any better for him because we didn't have the resource. So what's the point in me just going in day after day after day if no one's going to change anything?
How can a government minister like Steve Barclay, or before him, Therese Coffey, listen to a story like this and simply reply with, I don't care? Because that's what they're doing. They're replying with, I don't care. Because when they actually come up with some sort of response, it's, well, we've invested this amount of money and we're going to invest this amount of money in the future and we're going to hire this number of staff, and this is their response. Complete lack of empathy. Empathy for the victim here, the patient, and lack of empathy for the staff. Can you imagine becoming a doctor or becoming a nurse? I can't imagine this because I'm not. But I'm trying to tap into what they're feeling. Driven by this hope and will and belief that you're going to help people. And then you go into a system where the people at the top simply do not care. They don't give a crap. Please, somebody disagree with me on this, but point to me how Steve Barclay or Therese Coffey or Matt Hancock or any of these people gave a crap or currently give a crap. No, they don't. We are hearing this story. There are thousands, literally thousands of stories like this, some even worse than this, that government ministers are surely hearing from either from medical staff when they go into the hospital, from the patients themselves when they're visiting these hospitals, or from senior people in the NHS who give them reports on a daily basis. Surely these stories are filtering down to these ministers. Surely they're listening to these stories either on the radio or in person. And the reaction to this is, I don't care. It is, I don't care. It has to be, I don't care. Because if they do care, then they would do something about it. They would invest the resources necessary. They would give staff what they need. If you're treated by your boss as a non-entity, if they show nothing but indifference to your situation, then of course you're going to leave. Any job. But in particular, when you join this, not for the money. Nobody joins the NHS as a nurse or as a junior doctor for the money. They do it out of passion, a vocation. They want to help people. That's their primary motivation. And they can't, because the people at the top simply do not give a crap. All they talk about is, well, we're going to invest this amount of money or that amount of money. We're going to hire all these staff. No empathy whatsoever. How do they live with themselves? How do they sleep at night? Do they never do they ever think, Therese Coffey or Steve Barclay at the moment, do they ever think, wow, I could have been that person. I could have been that patient. I wouldn't want to be in a situation like that. Or even if it's not them directly, a friend of theirs, a family member. Do they not have any feeling, any humanity whatsoever? If I was a minister, if I heard stories like this and I wasn't able to fix it, I would resign. I wouldn't be able to live with myself. How would I be able to go to bed at night knowing people went through hell as a direct consequence of my political decisions? Is this about protecting the party? Is this about protecting their career? Do they hear these stories and say, well, I need to put that aside and forget about it, because if I linger on this problem or this situation or this scenario for too long, I might actually feel bad and then I'll have to resign? Do these people have no empathy, no soul? Sorry guys, these things really hit me, because this is fundamental dignity for people. This man, the last day of his life, spending 8 hours sitting in a chair. You heard the situation he was going through. No dignity whatsoever. The nursing staff, the medical staff wanted to help, but they couldn't because their hands were tied. And who tied their hands? Government ministers, people who make the decisions. Those are the ones who are deciding. You know, Matt Hancock and Therese Coffey and Steve Barclay can complain all they want. Well, you know, we can't do anything about the visas. We can't bring in the people. You know, some of them are Brexiteers. They don't care about bringing in people to work in the NHS. It's about keeping foreigners out. But some of them who aren't Brexiteers, surely they could put pressure on the Home Secretary to issue more visas, to get more people into the NHS, to fix this. But they don't care about that either, it seems. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.